We are almost 60 years after Brown versus Board of Education. We're more segregated than we've ever been. So when you look at the student body here, we're about 95% Latino. You look at across the street, about 80% Latino. And so there's a lot of segregation that's happening, partly on race, but mostly because of class and who has access to rich schools.
My name is Margarita Brizuela, and I am 19 years old. I have a 2-year-old daughter. Her name is Sofia Mesa. And I grew up here in Oakland. Being part of the public schools, I saw a lot of disadvantages we had compared to students that would go to Piedmont schools or would go to private schools. Growing up here and getting pregnant at a very young age, I remember a time where I was seeking for help. I was going to the welfare offices and trying to figure out how to get help in order to get daycare and go to school at the same time. And so they referred me to a couple of different schools, and these were like for teen mothers. But unfortunately, these schools didn't have any of the A through G requirements. They did not prepare you for the SAT. So that's when I was like, there has to be something done, because how can you have women coming to a school and not having them get prepared to go to college, just to graduate high school? And a lot of them did not know about how to even get to college, and so how to even apply. And thanks to my school that I used to go to, to Arise, they actually taught us that since like the very beginning of 9th grade.
We are in a school that's very rare. We don't believe in police department, video cameras, security, none of that. But we only serve about 200 plus kids. It feels good, to even when celebrities come out and they give a meal to someone, the homeless on Thanksgiving. But that's community service, and that creates dependency, and it creates a system of social services.
I'm here asking for help. I'm not asking for charity. I'm asking for help for you to, I want to get my education. I want to go to college. And, people would turn and look at me like, you're not really going to do anything with your life. You're Mexican, you're 16, you're low income, what are you going to do? Because of the color of our skin and the way we looked, at school we were labeled as, oh, you speak Spanish, so you're going to be in the ELD classes, and, so they started tracking us from there. And I remember that, and it was very hard to see when they would take you out to take these tests, where it was like, where's the box? Like, really? And it was just really dehumanizing, I'd say. Like, why would you make me take a test that because of I speak a different language as well? Like, now there's hundreds of people trying to learn my language, and they say I'm so fortunate, but why when I was younger they didn't say that?
I can always tell when the kids at this school have taken the exam, because that day they feel like epic failures. That's what they say. Because on a piece of paper they're told they're dumb, they're ignorant, they're worthless. Because once they get test scores and they're like, you didn't pass the Casey, or you have a low test score in the STAR test, or heaven forbid the SAT or the ACT, it labels a kid.
So I think part of it is understanding that the system wasn't set up for everybody to go far. We had to set it up on that industrial, context of well, we need some laborers, and we need to make sure people sit in a line in a row real good and do that assembly line. I mean, that's really what it was set up for. So it's not failing. It's doing exactly what it was supposed to do. I think now that we are in the 21st century, we need to figure out, well, how do we, reevaluate our educational system? We have been given so much of that we are not to succeed that we believe it by our own parents, by our own institutions, by our own experiences.
It made me feel like if I wasn't a person, like you're making a person take tests that makes them feel even more stupid, Tests are supposed to be like, oh, if you get score higher, you feel good about it. But no matter how high I scored or how low I scored, I still felt stupid, And it made me mad. It made me really mad to know that I had to be taking this test instead of like preparing for something else, you know?
So I think being that schooling is, a microcosm of the broader society, and what we see happening in schooling usually is happening in the broader world. If there's certain students getting marginalized in schooling, that's happening in the broader community, right? In addition to it being a microcosm, it's one institution of many institutions within our communities and within society.
I try to ask the girls in our program, could you find a girls empowerment book in your neighborhood? There's 0 bookstores in East Oakland. We have 186 liquor outlets. In order for you and I to sell liquor, we need a liquor license from the government. Why would you have 186 liquor outlets and not one bookstore? Not one community center open after 6 p.m.? So I just feel like I'm band-aiding this. Like, we need to bring in something else, something much more intense.
Regardless of what we think or what we say, we know that certain communities are suffering, right? And that we're in new times right now, right? We just saw the Occupy movement take the streets. We just saw the young people of Egypt, overthrow a dictatorship of 30 years. We see the people in Arizona demanding the right to ethnic studies. We see people in Chicago, the students of Chicago, protesting against the closing of their schools, right? So we're in new times, right? And unless we create and provide the space and the tools and the skills for students and young people to challenge, counter, construct, and deconstruct, right, and reconstruct the communities they want to see, nothing's going to change.
So I think you have to bring in a lot more factors and not just make it black and white, where this is what decides the fate of that school and the fate of that community. And it's all based on these high stakes tests. So for me, you have to look at multiple measures. You have to look at portfolios of students, evaluating teachers on multiple ways, evaluating students in a community in multiple ways, and looking at new kind of testing.
So what we've done is we've developed an assessment that measures basically 5 competencies: innovation, adaptability, critical analysis, communication, and teamwork. And so what we said was, okay, these are things that Fortune 500 companies are saying that they really want and they're not getting from their college graduates. And then universities are saying, yeah, we want to be able to teach that. How do we do that? And what we learned is that you can't really learn teamwork in a textbook, and you can't really learn communication in a Spanish class. You actually have to have some life experiences. And I don't have an answer of how to overcome, but I do have at least a way to identify the skills that might help them overcome whatever issues. Because if it wasn't for my innovation and my collaboration and my communication, I wouldn't have gotten to where I am today. It's not because I memorized how to do the SATs. It was because I learned my life skills. Those life experiences gave me skills, and I learned how to translate that into the academic and job world. And so I think the challenge that I find is that our institutions are struggling, with how do we help this population, which I do believe most people want to help. But if they didn't come from that population, then it's really hard to understand that population.
We will not be able to change schools if the teachers and the students aren't involved, right? And we're not going to be able to create government level and institutional level change unless we have a base and a power of people who are conscious and realize that it's, that it comes from the institutional level. Then that needs to be changed.
Anywhere you go, you're gonna find trouble. And so what my goal is to change Oakland, How is there a way where we can still have all the same great people here, but still be able to raise your child here, You're able to learn, you're able to grow, you're able to speak your mind regardless of how crazy your idea might seem, or even if you have a dream, and that's okay. Or a place where you're able to fall to your lowest and still get back up and still have your support there. My passion is teaching other students, helping the students who can't understand sometimes, who tend to learn slower, and help them. No matter how long it takes, I'm going to be there.
And when you figure out who you are and that you matter and that you have a purpose, you walk differently. You walk the hallways differently. So when you observe my students, observe how they are. Now they're carrying a lot of scars, but they're resilient. And I truly believe that if we invest time with young people, what if I'm standing right next to 4'9" Harriet Tubman? What if I get to be her teacher? What if right in front of me Cesar Chavez? What if it's Mahatma Gandhi? What if it's Winnie Mandela? I don't know who's in front of me. I don't know who's in my classroom, but I have a revolutionary duty to spark that mind, to challenge that mind, to help them ask critical questions, and to give them the skills to be resilient the rest of their days.